Just on his on the performance at PMQs, I thought that was really fascinating. I thought it was quite clever actually because it took the pressure off himself. And he could say, here's this electorate who's a member of the public who's emailed me with this question, and it took the pressure off of him trying to come up with a specific line of attack for the very first PMQs. And it also meant that Cameron couldn't be flashy. He had to take it seriously because he would have been dismissing that member of the public. But he never put Cameron under any serious pressure at all. And I think that tactic is useful, but it's going to need nuancing in the future. He may take a question from the public, but then he's going to have to follow up on it himself to try and put the Prime Minister...
Exactly, because, the follow-up is more important, if anything, than the main question.
I enjoyed the tone, though.
Yeah,
if you look at the last days of Cameron versus Miliband, it had devolved into a complete car crash circus.
Yeah, it was a complete bear pit. I spent years covering PMQs, and it is a macho bear pit, the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's nonsense, actually. You don't get any analysis of policy at all of it.
But are the Westminster politicians, the elites, and the media going to wear this? Because if he starts doing this week in, week out, I thought there was a sort of tone in the room of... they're sort of catering to him because it's his first time. There's a little bit of bemused laughter going on. What's this guy doing? I think if he carries on doing this after 2 or 3 weeks, I think there's going to be real kind of consternation because they love the theatrics. They love the sensation.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The issue's not, this week. It'll be in a month's time or so, whether it continues, because I suspect, I could be wrong, but I suspect that they will fall back into that thing of boo, boo politics, because they do love it, actually.
Well, I'm going to disagree a little bit here because I'm not certain that it will. First of all, he looked very serious and sober, which was, important for him. And, to the eyes of many in the nation, that PMQs was really the first exposure a lot of people have had to him. And if the narrative is, here's this wild-eyed socialist, yet this sober, serious man stands before you in the dispatch box, I think he can carry that for a lot longer than 2 or 3 weeks, as long as he remains authentic and consistent. I think, yes, there will be pressure from the media. They'll probably want it to throw things in their grenades to make it more interesting. But look at what authenticity is doing on both sides. Trump, Bernie Sanders, Jeremy Corbyn. People are sick and tired of this car crash back and forth. By people, I mean the voters. So it was very interesting to see somebody actually stand up there.
I think his major problem is going to be talking about immigration, right? So because if you go back to the last election, Labour lost a lot of voters to UKIP over this issue. And I think that he can infuse a certain wing of the British electorate. But I think the largest group of Labour supporters or traditional Labour supporters that they lost in the last election was because they couldn't define a position on immigration. And he is very much for, we have to take as many as we can at the moment. It seems to me that's what he's saying. And I think that's going to be a real problem for him.
Now, don't do what the Tories do, which is conflate immigration with the refugee crisis.
No, but I'm not conflating that. But that's what everybody does anyway. You can't get around that. Immigration to the electorate and to the media is always conflating that refugee crisis and the migrant issue. Okay, it doesn't matter to the average guy on the street that nuanced differentiation, but it's the policy on both parts that he has. But if he just says we need to look after migrants and we need to look after refugees, and I haven't got a problem with that in certain regards. I think it needs a little bit more nuancing and developing. But that is an issue that really was a problem for Labour, I think, in terms of who they lost in the last election.
The key thing for me is that word authenticity, and basically the whole thing was a huge gamble, really. He's saying, do we like authentic politicians who believe in what they say? And, some people say they should, but the gamble comes in relation to, and I don't know what the answer is on this, the gamble comes in relation to the general election, whether they will actually go along with that. And maybe we want people, like, or the electorate want people like Cameron and stuff who compromise things, and his idea of saying things and believing in things and putting them before the electorate may be highly laudable, but it is a big gamble, because what you're saying is effectively that it is time for change.
He still has to get stuff done. That's a given. And I have found that people who go out there and try to find a middle ground do a lot better in the long run. I mean, there was even in the debate last night, somebody mentioned, it was Lindsey Graham, I think, who mentioned that even Ronald Reagan reached out to Tip O'Neill, opposite side of the aisle, and together they got stuff done. But they started by drinking first, which was important, but to drinking together. But I mean, it's. I think we're in a sea change moment.
That's interesting. That
I can't. Sea change moment in politics.
I can't see Corbyn reaching out to Cameron ever.
No, but I think he's got to reach out to his own party. That's going to be half the battle. I mean, most of the PLP will oppose him on Europe and on. I mean, that's changed a little bit, but on Trident for sure. And even some of the Labour MPs. I mean, there was an article that were. I think it was in The Guardian yesterday, was talking about how some of the arch Blairites may even defect to the Tories, which would be an incredible thing to happen.
But they're talking about kind of the social democratic split.
That's going to happen anyways in a party. I mean, whether they go to the Tories or form their own party is another issue. But there were a lot of members of the Labour Party that were Labour in name only. Okay, because they're still, and you can say that about Democrats and to a lesser extent Republicans, Democrats in name only, because of where they live and the seat that they end up contesting, they have to lean to the right in order to be elected because of the district that they're in, particularly if it's a marginal or a swing district. So I can understand a bit of that. I mean, I look at senators in the United States like Manchin of West Virginia. I mean, the guy's, he's not a Democrat by any stretch of the imagination, but he's with the Democratic Party. And
yeah, well, that's the key, isn't it? I mean, they are within the. I mean, do you think that we are seeing the start of an SDP style split?
No, I don't think so. I think what's going to happen is, and I hate to say this, but just from the coverage this week, and I want to be more positive about it, but I don't think he's going to last very long, Jeremy Corbyn. The only way he can last is if somehow he bypasses the PLP and he bypasses the media and gains enough kind of grassroots support that can make enough noise to keep him in the position that he's in, because he has got a mountain to climb. And I think some of his positions he's going to have to change his position, which, if this principled truth merchant, is he going to be able to do that?
I mean, that's the key. I mean, I think the figures are something like 20. He has 20 of the MPs and they've got 232. So 20 out of 232, he has got a huge mountain to climb.
And if he fails, then they'll lose all the new members they just got, and they'll come over and support us and the Liberal Democrats.
Yeah, there is that.
Not that you're invested at all in that.
No.